Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're out on a residential home here and we're going to be working on doing the underground. It's been a little while since we've done a plumbing video, and today I want to kind of show you how the whole entire underground for a residential home comes together. And that'll be both the layout, kind of some of the tips on planning, and then the actual install itself. All right, well, the first thing is, as we get into this underground, we've got our some of our tools set up and our plan out in front of us here. The first thing is to start writing the numbers down. And I'm assuming you have some kind of sketch or a plan, and you have that in front of you with hopefully the drawing of how you're going to put the plumbing down. If you go even further, like we did, we used a software to pull those dimensions so we don't have to do any math, so that we can pull dimensions from the inside of this ICF type wall right to the dimension where our plumbing needs to be. So the first thing I do is design everything, order the materials based on that design, so hopefully we don't miss any parts. And then from there, I'm back on site and I'm gonna write down the dimensions on the ICF. And you can kind of see here, there's different things. Like that one's 13, 11 and 3/4. If I remember right, that's the number from the inside of the ICF to the center line of our main. And the reason we do this is we don't want to just have plumbing inside of a structure that just runs at some odd angle, because that makes the plumbing very inefficient. Of course, there's craftsmanship and all that, but it makes it inefficient because it takes way more fittings and more, you could say, finagling things around to try to make it land right where you want it. So I always picture a structure like this. In my mind, I almost have a grid where there's clean lines. All the pipes are going to run parallel or perpendicular. I mean, you're using 45s or 22-degree fittings, that's fine, but you just want to make sure that they're starting from a place where the main is perpendicular or parallel, depending on how you're looking at it. All right, first thing we're doing is we're going to kind of mark out where the main line is here. In this case, our number is 13, 11 and 3/4. Our main doesn't come in at 13, 11 and 3/4, so we're going to offset to where our design is. So as you can see, we're just kind of going down and making some hash marks here with spray paint, and we'll color it all nice when we're done kind of connecting the dots. So let's skip past this and put one more there for now. So now we're going to actually make some crosshairs where all these centers land, based on the numbers on the wall that I talked about early on. Right here, you have 9 foot 5 5/8. You can see roughly where this dimension is right where we're pulling from. And we try to do that strategically so that when I switch then to here, when we're 2 foot 2 1/4 for this other direction, then we're not too far away. So this one was maybe just a little bit off, but there was our first crosshair. That's the target for the center of the riser pipe. From the top view of the plan, this is right where the riser pipe is for the toilet. So water closet is the technical term for a toilet. So let's now do the shower at 3 foot. So that's over here quite a ways. All right, and then this dimension is showing 5, 4 1/8. So that's our target for our shower. We'll have to look on the plan what that center means, because showers differ. So if you were going to do a tub versus a shower and where the drain lands and all that has to be looked at, just to make sure that that's not the back of the wall, and making sure that the drain's in the right spot for what type of pan you're putting in, or what. There's just so many options on showers. It's always a good question to ask yourself. So if you have no plan on your shower and you're doing underground, you'll probably have to make a decision on where you're putting your drain. So that's the center of the washer drain. The next one is for a stack, 4, 1 1/8. And then the stack this way is saying 13. So if we were just at 11, you're going to be only a couple feet past here. So 13, 11 and 3/4. There's that one. And then you got the 4-foot 1 1/8 this way. And this is for a stack. So when I say stack, a stack means a plumbing drain for plumbing that's going to be above us. Not on this level, because this is a level, this basement, and it's going to have a bathroom in it. But that stack is for catching more plumbing up above us. This is a 3-story building in this case, so there will be more plumbing, and there is a bathroom on every floor. So we can talk more about those details when we're doing PVC as well. And then the other thing was there's a wall here. We're going to have to double check on the plan, but I believe that this wall will flush out, and that's where was there a stack in there and a drain vent?
We got the vent.
So we'll have to double check our plan. It says it should be 4'2". Let's see what we're at if you go against the wall there. So there's a chance that this one, in this case, we'll check with the builder just to make sure that he's not putting the wall past here. He may be, and if he is, then, and there's a wall getting framed kind of against this wall here, then the vent's gonna land just like we have it pulled up on our plan. But if the wall's gonna flush out, then we'll have to move the vents back. So we'll have to double check these dimensions, but for now, it's looking like they're gonna be just out past here and that they're framing it. So for now, I'll put a mark here and we'll be back to check this one. So the last dimension I didn't actually have on the plan that isn't really critical because you can kind of do a little bit of guesswork is for the sink. It's just past the shower wall line. So we added 1 3 I still wanted to write it down so you can see. It says lav 7'3". That's going to be the arm that comes off this wall, 7'3", going to the lav. And then in this case, this is just going to go to the inside of the ICF. I believe they're framing that, so we might not have to actually cut that in because I believe a wall is getting framed on the perimeter, but we'll just double check that detail with the builder. So if there's no wall getting framed, we're going to have to actually notch this pipe into the foam and then notch it in all the way up until we tie into another vent or however it gets piped later. So now that we got the lav here, we're going to go 7'3". Let's mark this out so that we have all our marking done. And then, again, we don't know exactly where that's going to go. We have one question on that, so we'll double check that. And that'll also mean double checking this one as well. So if they're framing a wall, then we know answers on both of these. But other than that, we can start connecting the dots. So the first thing we're going to look at is roughly where this Y is. So I'm going to refer to the plan, and I'm going to see where this first Y branch is off, and we're going to start making lines, and then basically it's playing a game of connect the dots. You've got crosshairs, which are illustrating a pipe that stands up. And if we make our main lines, our branch lines, and we paint 2 of these marks here on the ground, it's going to be connecting them all together. And from there, you just need a bunch of guys with energy and shovels to get this all dug up. So let's get started. Where this lav lines up, we want to be just on this side. So I'm going to split this right here and make this a combo right here. So you can see that this is a branch line, and then we're splitting again. If my marking paint would work. And that's going to come this way, and it's going to catch this. So this stuff here is going to tie in, make a 90 and tie in there. So here the stack is 5'9". We added a couple of these numbers that I didn't have that I went back and dimensioned out quick. Ideally I would have had all of them, but it's hard to catch everything. And then after the stack, from there on is the bathroom group. You'll see more as the piping comes together. But we're gonna basically split off here. And this isn't really technical. It can be kind of anywhere as long as it's between the stack and the toilet, and the toilet trap arm doesn't get too long. In this case, I can easily see we're way good here. It's funny how it works. Now that we have this sprayed out, I'm seeing that this is a little bit silly with how I have this laid out. So instead of this Y being here, making a 90, splitting, instead, I can actually put the Y further back so that this branch right here lines up with this branch right here, and we can eliminate this 90. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and do that. So you can see what we have here, but I'm gonna get rid of this line, and I'm gonna make this combo tight up to that combo rolled up for the stack. And I might have to offset this just a little bit with a couple 22s or 45s, but I know that it'll still be cleaner and have less offsets, or it'll be a lot cleaner system. So in this case, I'm gonna take the same shower number because I'm gonna snipe that. And we are at 5'4" 1/8", so 5'4" 1/8" is right here. So this will be a little bit tight, and I'll probably have a little bit of an offset, but it'll make it cleaner so that we eliminate some 90s. And then this will basically go straight over like that. So this will instead be a combo, or a Y with a 45, you could say. So I'll get rid of that so it's a little easier to see. So this might offset a little bit to get back to that number to line up. And then this will continue to the lav. So from here, this is a wet vented section, exactly where my tape's at, all the way till you get to this first Y for the toilet. And then this is the trap arm for the toilet, trap arm for the shower, and then the wet vented section continues up, and the trap arm for the sink is above the concrete in this case. So hopefully that makes sense. You can see we're not perfect. When you get out here, sometimes you adjust stuff to make it even a little bit better. So let's finish laying out all these lines now. All right, so I didn't check close enough. This is a little bit different than what we had started with. This is actually the end of the line clean out. This is the combo. We're having 90 here. And then being that this is on the footing, we're not gonna chip the concrete up. We're gonna put the floor drain under the washer right here. It'll be kind of near the front of the washer, but that's okay. And then this continues past it to feed the washer receptacle box later. So it'll be a drain coming, an emergency floor drain, and then from there you're basically just going down to the main, and about the end of the line cleanouts there. So a couple modifications, but that's closer to what's on the plan anyway. We've made all the adjustments now though, and it's pretty much close to the plan. Other than you can see, I talked about this. Instead of doing 90s, we cleaned it up and used more 45s, just because for some reason when you get in the dirt, something just clicks a little more than when you're looking at it from the plan. It's hard to explain why, but it does happen. So yeah, I think we're ready to start digging this out and then get some pipes in the ground. All right, so the update here is we've got a piece of pipe testing our grade. We scraped in its red clay underneath, so we got a little bit of it to get us a little bit lower. But in this case, there's 10 inches of radon rock going in, and that's going in after, and it's going in by us. So a lot of our plumbing, actually, you'll be able to see it above the ground because we're coming out of the grade. I just didn't want any fittings to land in the walls at the concrete height, so I brought it down a little bit, but really that's the extent of our digging. From here, we're just gonna be piping above these orange lines. All right, so I got a little piece to mock this up. I've got my Sharpie on me. This is going to be kind of lining up with roughly the same elevation. Roughly, I mean within like 1/8 of an inch. If anything, we wanna be a hair lower. And what I'm gonna do is measure this where it needs to be, and then I'm gonna cut this at the right height. So, Sharpie. Kind of lining up where the pipe is because we liked where it was. This isn't exactly straight, so let me get this a little bit straighter. There we go. Now for sure we'll have a 1/4 inch per foot. So just kind of keeping it simple here. All right, so I just need enough room to get my saw in here somehow. Might have to dig this a little wider. Looks like I'll have to cut this out with a shovel, and then I'll be able to cut this to height. All right, so we're gonna start putting this T on. The drain's gonna go in here. You can use a T as long as this is making a fall. Instead of taking a fall, if it's taking sewage or drainage, you'd have to have a long sweep on it. So in this case, we're making the fall, so we can use a sand T, and then my clean out's gonna go up here because this drain drops straight down. So it's gonna be sitting there like this. So I gotta glue it on just like that. and then swing it over with a 45, which is right there on the ledge. I'll have to grab that. So yeah, so what I'm actually going to do is use my Sharpie again. Close the primer. Sharpie is going to go. So I kind of want to be parallel. This face of this fitting needs to be parallel with the wall. Pretty close to it anyway. This won't be sitting like this, so this dirt won't be in the way. It's going to be just about like that. So I just need to make a mark, remembering that this is going to glue down further, so my mark has to be down below it so it doesn't disappear when I glue it on. So you kind of have to do a little bit of eyeball, and I'll double check this quickly while the glue is still setting up, because, you know, I'm kind of getting this roughly, and then I'll fine tune it as it's getting set. So I started gluing here. It's important to do enough glue on 4-inch. I like to do 2 daubers, or at least 3. Some people say it's overkill, but I'd rather glue drip out, waste a little bit of glue, than have stuff leak after the fact. So everything should be really doused with glue. And then I start at the angle, a different angle than what I'm going to be at, just to spin. And there, I'm close. So now I'm going to get this 45. I'm just kind of visualizing. This will be kind of like that. And that's about where I want to be. Now it's going to be getting this angle piece. I actually call this a travel piece because we're traveling over to a parallel line. So I'm going to measure this travel piece. First thing I'm going to do is eyeball down my pipe and make sure it's pointing straight at my target at the end, which is a orange crosshair in this case. So making sure that that is angled right where I want it. Looks like I'm just a little off, so I'm moving that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some math here, actually. And this is a little trick that a lot of people don't know about that have been doing piping for a long time. Maybe if they're a plumbing nerd like me, they know it, but just a little bit of clay in my way here. So this is what I call with my guys the 1.4 trick, and it's 1.41 technically for calculating the travel piece when you're offsetting something at a 45-degree angle. So what I'm going to do is pull this towards me and get this center to center number with this held how it's going to be, because this is going to go like this and be right here. So this is the travel piece that we're trying to determine this section. How long is this? So holding this how it's going to be, and then is that still pointing? I moved it. Yes, it is. So this pipe is right where I need it to be. This center to center is really close to 11 inches actually, like on the dot. So what I'm going to do is take out my calculator and calculate 11 times 1.41. That gives us 12.54. But then I need to add the hubs. So you got to add for this hub and this hub. With 4-inch together, they're 3.5. So I'm at 12.54 plus 3.5. This is 16.04. That's pretty much a 16-inch travel piece on 4-inch. So let's cut that. And one trick is I'm going to glue the fitting on first so that I have less gluing down in the dirt. Now I'm going to slide this out of the way. I'm going to have to empty some dirt in case I'm got in that end. Making sure this ain't moving out. You want to make sure you hold it till it's locked in, because when it's not locked in, it wants to hydroplane right back off the fitting. Just the glue bond making a little resistance. This hasn't been primed in a while, so I'm going to prime it quick and then put this together and then put the stick of pipe in the ground in after. It's already to grade, so otherwise I'd be stopping to check that. But for now, or in this case, we already set the grade, so I'm going to do that right now. Just like last time, I'm going to glue my coupling on first. And that's right here. And we're going to glue this on first. There's less gluing in the dirt, then I'm going to set this after. That's all now set to grade. The clean out is going to be on the top of that tee. That'll go last. So let's move on to this. Okay, so that's in, and then I'm gonna bed this a little bit with some dirt as I go. Make sure we're still pointed right at our target. And checking grade, I really like it. It's perfect right there. Now we got a coupling in the ground, piece of pipe, 45 sand tee for a clean out. And now what we're gonna do is measure this next piece. If we haven't already, we're gonna glue this Street 45 in there, so when we take this measurement that it's accurate. It might be pushed far enough in, so we're probably fine. Looks like we already got this piece measured. So again, fitting first, we're gonna glue this Y on it before we do anything else outside of the trench. In this case, it's not much of one, but still a good habit. All right, so gluing this combo on, that's feeding our bathroom and some other fixtures into it. So they've got that pretty much ready, and I'm gonna come over on this end. Looks like he's got it, so he's gonna glue this end here. And one thing that's really important to note is when you're doing a plumbing groundwork, you wanna finish the whole entire main line before you take any branches off. And the reason is if this got set, say here, and it was crooked, and we started piping the branches off to the side, then suddenly you go look at this end and it doesn't line up with where you wanted this, say, end of the line clean out to 90 up right here. So if we want this all to be, nice and straight first, and then when that's all locked in this case we're gonna pound stakes in to hold it in place, then you start your branches. And the same thing applies if you have basically a main that's splitting again. In this case, I'm gonna pipe all the way, put all my Ys, or in this case, combos in, and then the toilet's gonna come up. We're gonna lock that in. Only then will we start on the branches from that main section. And you always wanna do that, is when you start a straight line, finish that line before you take off on branches, and everything will come out nice and neat. One thing we might not have mentioned yet is as this joint's setting up, because we just glued this in, we want to make sure you're setting your combo to grade. So you don't put these in flat. As it's setting up, you tilt this back to grade and then let it set at grade. So here you can see he grabbed his number just over 4 feet. And he's setting that. And then what he wants me to do is come in here, and while he's holding that exactly where it goes, take this. So it's 20, 23 and a half for our 3.5 inches of hubs. Yes, move it over right where we want to be. That's good. So right now we are just making sure that this is back to our original parallel number to make sure we end up where we want to be. We're gonna pound this stake in to lock this right into place, and then only then are we gonna start our next main branch, which is going all the way to the end of the toilet. 20.5 exactly, so that's plus 3.5, 21, 24 is your cut. Eval, this is still wet. Let's check our center. Okay, it looks like we shifted about a quarter. I think when we pushed this in, we moved, which is not a big deal. Just got to shift it back. If you want to give me a little pressure back, we want to make sure that this is where we like it before the glue sets up. There we go. And the reason this one has to be pretty critical is because this is a big pipe going in the wall, so there's not a lot of tolerance on this one. So here's a stake, and we'll pound this in to lock it right in place. Just about right there. And I'm just gonna kind of hold this here until it locks up. So again, this was the stack for going upstairs. The previous fitting was a 4x2 combo for going over to the mechanical room to catch the drain and the vent over there. And then this is this combination fitting is the start of our wet vented bathroom group. So the first thing coming right off, if you read in chapter 9, Minnesota UPC, you need to have the toilet coming off first to do this. So the first thing we're doing is out of the end, we're doing the toilet. And looks like he's cutting that trap arm right now. This is gonna need to offset back, but this is the wet vented section heading over to the lav. On the way, we're gonna pick up a shower. Other than the shower, we just have the wet vented section running to the lav after this. And then we can go back and start running those other branches. So trap arm for the toilet, it's going in. We're gonna set that to level. And this fitting right here, it goes bigger because it's just better for being right below the toilet. I always like to do these. The flange glues inside of it, which is also a bonus. And then it's better for the toilet to have a larger diameter size right where the toilet dumps into the waistline. So that's why we're using a 4x3 closet 90, it's called. So here, this dimension, I want to be 2 foot 2 1/4. I have that written right where my tape is pointing here. So we're good this way. And then the other number says water closet 9 foot 5 5/8. So if I'm by myself, I usually just go out and set down on there. And then make sure that I'm coming straight over, not at an angle. 9 foot 5 5/8, so you're right there. All right, so we're gonna kind of split up now. The main is effectively done, and I'll explain more of what everything is kind of near the end and kind of try to explain as I go. This is 11 feet off the wall. Again, it's just so nice having that number right there. And then I can switch right over to measuring my cut piece. So this is the laundry area. There's a clean out, end of the line clean out there. And we're gonna have an emergency floor drain as well. All right, well, I want to just quickly go over what we've got here. We're getting the air test on now. You can kind of see the fellas getting the caps on and everything. So this is our most downstream section. Just to reiterate, all of our plumbing flows this way. And this is our main line coming up, and I just want to walk through and explain to you what everything is and kind of how it's vented. So if you come down here, we'll go right to the end. The first thing is this is getting capped off right now, but it's going to be an end of the line clean out. So there's going to be a clean out fitting with a threaded plug inside of it going on later, getting set to concrete height. So that's pretty simple. Before that, we tied in this laundry. This is going to be emergency floor drain in the laundry room under the washer. And then this is going to be the drain line for the washer receptacle box that goes on this floor right in this corner. So that will feed the washer box, and then that will get vented up, straight up from there. So when we come back to the main here, this other kind of main branch here comes down. This 4-inch here is a stack for upstairs. That's going to catch multiple bathrooms upstairs. That's why we kept it 4-inch. It's catching more than 3 toilets, so that's 4-inch. The toilet here, this is the trap arm for the toilet, because from this Y over is what's called a horizontal wet vented bathroom group. So we're venting this whole section with one vent. So the first thing is this trap arm. It's well within our maximum length, and then our branch coming off runs straight down to our shower. And that is the trap arm for the shower, also coming into this wet vented section. And then the wet vented section continues all the way up where it's going to arm to a sink, and then it's going to turn into a regular dry vent that's going to tie in with that other laundry vent we talked about. So again, to reiterate the wet vented section on this, just in case anyone's curious on how this works, the wet vented section is from here all the way down, comes here, catches the shower, but that's a trap arm. Wet vent continues all the way to this Y. So you're wet venting at that Y for the toilet, at this Y for the shower, and then it continues all the way up and out. So that's the bathroom group, the stack, the laundry, the floor drain, the end of the line clean out. So the last section to look at is this 2-inch that comes over here. This here is actually a stack that's going to feed the kitchen. So that's just a drain. The vent's going to happen way up at the kitchen where it tees to the center of the sink. The vent will go straight up, way upstairs. This is the vent here for the floor drain. It doesn't have to be 2-inch, but I always like to stub 2-inch out of the concrete, and then we'll reduce this to an 1.5-inch vent. So we're venting this floor drain here, which is going to be like a receptacle for condensate, because this is the mechanical room. So this is, again, vented from this T, and we're venting this for the furnace condensate, and also it could act as like a floor drain if there was any water that dumped on the floor. So since there's a use for that, it has to be vented. So that's kind of all of the plumbing we've got here and how it's vented. You can notice there's some jumpers and water lines we're going to put in as well, and that's just to get to the other side of a beam. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go together, so for security, we put in some jumpers in the concrete in case that's our way to get from one side of the beam to the other to get water lines distributed throughout the house. So that's about it on all of this PVC, a little bit of water lines. Again, if you're wondering, this it's covered by 10 inches of drain rock. That's why this is able to be up high like this and attached to stakes. And then keep in mind when I'm talking code, I'm talking about Minnesota UPC. So Minnesota UPC code is used for what we have going on here. We're getting the air test on. This will be inspected, so it's done to code, and that's about it.